What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a must-see fractal that Bitcoin just made. It's crazy because last March, we had a panic in Bitcoin associated with the pandemic crash. And when we compare that crash to this crash today, there's a lot of really interesting things to see. So before we get started, if you're not a subscriber to my channel already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as sharing these videos with your friends and hitting the like button down below. I really appreciate everybody that tunes into these videos. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. All right, guys, so I'm looking at Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ here. Bitcoin is on the bottom and the NASDAQ is on the top. And the reason I am comparing these two charts is really because I see a similar fractal of human emotion. As you guys can see, this is the peak of the NASDAQ here. This is the peak of Bitcoin here. So this was the internet bubble. This was Bitcoin's first quote unquote bubble. And then we get the first bottom right here, coinciding with the first bottom right here. And then we get another bottom right here, which makes the double bottom pattern. Now, I will be comparing the crash that happened in Bitcoin last March to the crash that we're seeing now. But first, I want to show you how Bitcoin is following the same market structure that the NASDAQ is following. So then we have this massive recovery. As you can see, the NASDAQ saw this massive recovery. It breaks above its previous all-time high right here and starts to go into price discovery. And the same thing happened with Bitcoin. We broke its previous all-time high and it started to go into price discovery. Now, what's interesting is when it breaks its previous all-time high, it panicked. So that panic coincides with this panic right here. And then we saw a massive recovery in Bitcoin, and we saw a pretty nice recovery here in the NASDAQ as well. And then the market panicked, and it tested the support level of the same panic range of the last sell. So again, with Bitcoin, we have this huge run up and then a panic, and it tested the support level of the previous crash. So this right here is actually following the same market structure that the NASDAQ is following. And as you can see, the NASDAQ actually recovers. It does a V bottom right here and saw a massive recovery. And what I'm actually expecting in Bitcoin is the same thing to happen. A massive recovery, a V bottom structure, and a reversal from these prices. So that's what I'm personally expecting as far as comparing the NASDAQ to Bitcoin itself. Now let's look at comparing Bitcoin to Bitcoin. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the Bitcoin chart on its own here. Probably just going to go ahead and use Coinbase since we don't need a lot of data here. We only need the last crash and the current crash. So let's go ahead and take all of the drawing tools and remove all our drawing tools so we have a nice clean chart. And then I'm going to go down to the 2-day candlesticks. Now, what's really, really cool that you can do with these charts, you guys, is you can actually take a certain section of the chart, for example, the pandemic crash that happened last March in Bitcoin, and then you can take it and copy it and paste it to another place on the chart. So if I take this right here and I go over to the left-hand side and I grab the bars pattern, this is going to be under the same place that you take long positions, measure percentage gains, and all of that good stuff. And we're going to go ahead and take the bars pattern tool and measure from the peak of the crash to the bottom of the crash. And I'm actually going to go a little bit out too, just so that we have a little bit more than that. And as you can see, it brings up this little green thing. And then I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out so it's bigger. The reason I'm stretching it out is because perspective, obviously, if we were to zoom all the way in right here, this crash would look very, very big. It would look almost like the same crash that we just saw. It looks a lot bigger when you're zoomed in, as you can see. But because we have new price action that shrunk the size of that correction, we need to grow the size of our fractal comparison. So this is a fractal, you guys. And then what we can do is we can line them up. And as you guys can see, this crash compared to the crash that we saw during the March crash of last year is almost identical. The market structure looks almost exactly the same. And the reason I'm pointing this out, you guys, is because I am buying Bitcoin. I've been buying Bitcoin with my US dollar reserves, my USDT reserves. I've been taking margin positions. I am buying up this dip in confidence personally. And the reason that I'm doing this, you guys, is because I expect a full recovery and $100,000 around the corner. This is considered to be an ABC corrective wave. Do you remember when I was talking about how Bitcoin could do a 4-wave and how I wanted to see a 4-wave in Bitcoin so we could see a 5-wave? That's exactly what happened. Bitcoin created a 4-wave structure. This is an ABC correction. And if we zoom all the way out here and look at the chart in a little bit of a bigger scale, you'll see what I'm talking about when I say an ABC correction 4-wave. So as you guys know, Elliott wave theory states that there's 5 waves up and an ABC correction. And so what we're looking for here is a 1, 2. So this is our first 2 waves. And then a 3 and a 4 wave. You can see the 4 wave tested. And there's an ABC inside of the 4 wave. And then that will lead to the 5th wave structure. Now, I actually don't think Bitcoin will stop at 100,000 per coin. And my VIPs will get information on the updates of where it's going past that. But for all you free viewers, I want to make sure you guys are profiting in the markets. So I will share with you guys the fact that I do expect Bitcoin to reach at least $100,000 per coin in this cycle. I'm very confident in that, and that's one of the reasons I've been piling in my crypto into the markets. So you guys, with that being said, Bitcoin is not making me panic. Bitcoin is actually making me very excited about what's coming inside of the markets. I expect an abundance of profits inside of the markets to be coming after this. These types of crashes provide a massive opportunity for anybody that is actually willing to take a little risk in their lives. You guys, I am going to link a video in the description below that I highly recommend you guys watch. It's a little bit of an older video by Earl Nightingale, but it talks about taking risk and how the risk takers are always the people that come out on top in the long run. So you guys definitely check out the video. The links will be in the description for that. So yeah, Bitcoin looks a lot like the NASDAQ. It reminds me a lot of the crashes we saw in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ recovered perfectly. It also reminds me of the pandemic crash that we saw last March. It's actually a very similar percentage too. For anybody that isn't aware, the pandemic crash caused a pretty big percentage drop in the markets, but I was one of the only people on the internet telling people to buy in that period. It caused a 61% drop in Bitcoin. And if we look at the drop that we saw recently, you guys, from the peak high to the peak low, we saw 53% correction. So this crash actually isn't even as big as the one that we saw last March, but the opportunity is equal. There's so much opportunity right now in the markets to be a buyer and to be long on cryptocurrency. So that's my thoughts, you guys. I expect a V-bottom recovery. This is a perfect ABC correction, and it's expected, especially since we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 waves in the market. So always inside of Elliott wave theory, there's waves inside of waves. So just like we were counting the 1, 2, 3, and 4 wave right here, you can measure between the 2, the 3, and the 4, and you can count waves inside of those waves. And so that's why I'm coming to the conclusion that Bitcoin is a very good buying opportunity today. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something. Yes, I'm still bullish on BSV, still bullish on Dogecoin, still long on Bitcoin, and I'm very excited to see the price action that we see coming inside of the markets. Like I said, you guys, if you're not a VIP member, now is definitely the time to join the group. You can take advantage of all the signals that I've been posting, all the trades that I'm personally taking, and get ready to see the $100,000 Bitcoin that is right around the corner. I really appreciate you guys tuning in today's video. Just because the discount is happening in the markets, I also will drop a discount for my VIP. If you send me a Discord message or an email, I'll drop 20% off of the VIP. You guys, I don't do this very often, and I won't be running a lot of sales in the future because this is a very exclusive group, and I'm very picky about who joins inside of the family. So make sure that you guys check out the links in the description to join VIP today. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, stay profitable out there.